Marriage, one of the oldest institutions in human history, older than nations, older than laws, older than written language. Before cities were built, before empires rose, before history was recorded, humans formed bonds. But why? Was marriage created by God or by society? Was it a sacred covenant or a social invention? To understand marriage, we must go back to the beginning of human thought, where faith and philosophy first tried to explain who we are and why we unite. Let us begin with the religious perspective. According to the world's major religions, marriage is not a human invention. It is a divine design. In Judaism, marriage begins at creation itself. The Torah tells us that God created Adam and Eve, the first man and the first woman, and united them as one. In the book of Genesis, it is written, "Therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother, and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." Marriage in Judaism is not only companionship, it is a sacred covenant, sanctified by God, meant to continue life and preserve faith. In Christianity, this belief continues and deepens. Marriage is viewed as a holy sacrament. Jesus himself speaks of marriage as a divine union, not to be broken by human will. The Christian tradition teaches that marriage reflects the relationship between Christ and the Church, a bond based on love, sacrifice, and lifelong commitment. Marriage is not merely social, it is spiritual. In Islam, marriage is considered both a divine command and a social responsibility. The Quran describes marriage as a source of tranquility. It says that God created spouses so that humans may find peace, love, and mercy with one another. The Prophet Muhammad described marriage as completing half of one's faith. In Islam, marriage is not only about love, it is about balance, moral protection, and the stability of society. Hinduism, one of the oldest living religions, views marriage as sacred duty. Marriage is a samskara, a holy rite, binding two souls across this life and the next. It is not merely a contract, but a spiritual journey. Buddhism approaches marriage differently. It does not describe marriage as a divine command, but it recognizes its importance. Marriage is seen as a human relationship, guided by ethics, mutual respect, and compassion. The focus is not on God's command, but on reducing suffering and creating harmony. Across religions, one message repeats: marriage is more than survival, it is meaning. But religion is only one side of the story. Now, let us turn to philosophy. Long before modern science, philosophers asked, why do humans pair? Why do we form families? Plato believed that humans seek completion. In his dialogue Symposium, he describes love as the search for our lost half, the desire to become whole again. Marriage, in this view, is a response to inner incompleteness. Aristotle saw marriage through a social lens. He believed humans are political and social beings. Marriage was the foundation of the household, and the household was the foundation of the state. Without marriage, there could be no stable society. Confucius, in ancient China, viewed marriage as moral order. Marriage was essential to harmony between individuals, families, and the state. A stable marriage meant a stable society. Later, philosophers like John Locke viewed marriage as a social contract, not only emotional, but practical. A partnership built on mutual benefit, shared responsibility, and consent. Jean-Jacques Rousseau believed marriage evolved with civilization itself. As societies became complex, marriage became structured to regulate desire, inheritance, and social order. Across philosophy, one truth emerges. Marriage is not accidental. It is a response to human nature, to emotion, to survival, to society, to meaning. So we arrive at a powerful realization. Whether through God or through reason, humans did not choose marriage by chance. Marriage chose humanity as a way to survive, to love, and to build civilization. But this is only the beginning, because marriage did not remain the same. As societies changed, as power shifted, as cultures evolved, marriage transformed. Its rules, its purpose, its meaning. As civilizations emerged, marriage began to take different shapes, not in meaning, but in form. Because while the need to bond was universal, the way societies understood marriage was deeply cultural. Let us travel across civilizations and see how marriage shaped not only families, but entire worlds. In ancient Mesopotamia, marriage was both personal and legal. The Code of Hammurabi, one of the earliest legal systems, defined marriage as a contract. Love was respected, but stability was prioritized. Marriage regulated inheritance, protected children, and maintained social order. A society could not function without structured families. In ancient Egypt, marriage was surprisingly equal for its time. Women could own property, initiate divorce, and inherit wealth. Marriage was seen as partnership, not ownership. Art and texts show couples walking side by side, not one behind the other. Stability at home meant stability in life. In ancient Greece, marriage served the state. Personal love existed, but duty came first. Marriage produced citizens, continued family lines, and preserved social hierarchy. Philosophers debated love, but marriage was practical. As Aristotle implied, the household was the foundation upon which the state stood. In ancient Rome, marriage evolved. Early Roman marriage was strict and patriarchal. Later, it became more flexible. Consent began to matter. Emotional bonds gained recognition. Roman law shaped modern legal marriage systems still used today. In ancient China, marriage was about harmony. Influenced by Confucian thought, marriage connected families, not just individuals. Respect, duty, and balance were more important than passion. A successful marriage meant social stability. A stable family meant a stable empire. In indigenous societies across Africa, the Americas, and Oceania, marriage was communal. It connected clans. It strengthened alliances. It ensured survival. Marriage was not isolated love. It was collective responsibility. Now, let us step away from geography and examine function. What role does marriage play in the human life? First, the social role. Marriage has always been society's stabilizer. Sociologist Emil Durkheim argued that strong social bonds reduce chaos. Marriage creates structure, predictability, responsibility. Studies consistently show that societies with strong family units experience lower crime rates and greater social trust. Marriage is not just personal. It is social architecture. Second, the personal role. Marriage offers continuity. Life becomes less fragile when shared. Psychologist Erik Erikson described adulthood as a struggle between intimacy and isolation. Marriage, when healthy, resolves that struggle. It gives life emotional anchoring, a sense of belonging. Third, the emotional role. Love alone is not enough, but without love, marriage collapses. Modern psychology shows that long-term emotional support reduces stress, anxiety, and depression. According to studies published in the Journal of Health and Social Behavior, married individuals often experience better emotional regulation and resilience. Marriage becomes an emotional shelter, not perfect, but protective. Fourth, the role of marriage in individual success. This is often overlooked, but research is clear. A long-term Harvard study on adult development, spanning over 80 years, found that strong relationships, more than wealth or fame, predict life satisfaction and success. Marriage, when stable, creates an environment where individuals grow faster, emotionally, professionally, mentally. As philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "It is not a lack of love, but a lack of friendship that makes unhappy marriages." A good marriage multiplies strength. It sharpens focus. It stabilizes ambition. Many influential figures recognize this. Martin Luther King Jr. wrote that family life gave him emotional strength during his hardest struggles. Albert Einstein once remarked that stability at home allowed him to think freely. Marriage does not guarantee success, but instability almost guarantees struggle. Across cultures and centuries, one truth repeats: marriage is not merely about romance. It is a framework for growth, for responsibility, for meaning. Yet marriage is not static. As economies change, as gender roles shift, as individual freedom rises, marriage adapts. Its form evolves, its expectations change, and that evolution is where the modern story begins. Because the greatest question is no longer, why did marriage begin? But rather, can marriage survive in a world that no longer needs it to survive? And that question leads us to the next chapter. Something has changed, quietly, gradually, but profoundly. Across the world, marriage is no longer the destination it once was. People marry later, less often, or not at all. And when they do marry, they leave sooner. Partners are replaced, vows are broken, commitments feel temporary. This is not coincidence. It is not a single culture. It is not a single country. It is global. So we must ask the hardest question in this entire discussion. Why is marriage fading? Why do people fear commitment, yet crave connection? And why has replacing a partner become easier than repairing a relationship? To answer this, we must look beyond emotion and face reality. Let us begin with choice. Modern humans have more choices than any generation before. Choice in careers, choice in identity, choice in lifestyle, choice in partners. Psychologist Barry Schwartz called this the paradox of choice. When options become infinite, satisfaction declines. In relationships, this effect is devastating. Dating apps present endless alternatives. A swipe replaces patience. Novelty replaces depth. Why work through difficulty when another option is one click away? Marriage requires endurance. Modern culture rewards replacement. Now let us confront sexual stimulation. Never in human history has sexual access been so easy, so private, and so detached from responsibility. The pornography industry is not entertainment. It is an environment. Neuroscience studies show that excessive porn consumption alters dopamine pathways in the brain, the same reward system affected by addictive drugs. Research published in Frontiers in Psychology and the Journal of Sex Research shows strong correlations between high porn consumption and reduced relationship satisfaction, lower desire for real partners, increased infidelity, delayed marriage. When fantasy becomes unlimited, reality feels disappointing. Marriage requires intimacy. Pornography trains the brain to seek stimulation without emotional investment. Connection without commitment, pleasure without responsibility. Now consider economics. Marriage once provided survival. Today, it feels like risk. Rising housing costs, student debt, job instability. Young adults delay marriage not because they reject love, but because they fear collapse. Sociologist Andrew Cherlin described modern marriage as a capstone, not a foundation. Something to attempt after success is achieved, not while building life. But many never reach that point, so marriage is postponed or abandoned. Now let us speak about identity. Modern culture teaches, you must complete yourself. Marriage once meant growing together. Now it is seen as a threat to autonomy. Commitment is framed as limitation. Sacrifice is framed as loss. Individual freedom has become sacred. Yet humans are not designed for isolation. Studies from the American Psychological Association show rising loneliness, anxiety, and depression, especially among unmarried populations. Freedom without belonging becomes emptiness. Now consider expectations. Romantic ideals have exploded. Movies, social media, influencers. Marriage is expected to deliver constant passion, emotional fulfillment, personal growth, happiness. Historically, marriage was not meant to make you happy. It was meant to make life stable. When unrealistic expectations collide with reality, disappointment feels like failure, and failure leads to exit. Divorce becomes not tragedy, but strategy. Now let us face the most uncomfortable truth. Marriage used to be necessary. Now it is optional. And when something essential becomes optional, it must compete. Marriage now competes with career, pleasure, independence, convenience. Optional institutions do not survive without strong meaning. This shift has consequences. Global birth rates are collapsing. Japan, South Korea, Europe, North America. Entire nations are aging faster than they can replace themselves. According to the United Nations and World Bank data, fertility rates have fallen below replacement level in over 60% of countries. Not because humans hate children, but because they fear the structure required to raise them. Marriage is no longer seen as the beginning of life, but as the end of freedom. And now, partner replacement. Why do people leave so quickly? Psychologist Zygmunt Bauman described modern relationships as liquid, easily formed, easily dissolved. When discomfort appears, exit feels logical. Endurance is no longer taught. Repair is no longer romantic. But long-term success, in any domain, requires tolerance of discomfort. Relationships are no exception. So where does this leave us? Marriage is not dying because humans stopped loving. It is fading because desire became separated from responsibility. Choice overwhelmed commitment. Pleasure replaced patience. Freedom replaced belonging. The question is not whether marriage is outdated. The question is whether humans can redesign marriage without destroying it. Because societies without stable bonds do not become free. They become fragile. And fragile societies do not survive. So we arrive at the most critical question yet. Is marriage failing humans, or are humans failing marriage? And if commitment disappears, what replaces it? Because something always does. And that answer will define the future of civilization.
My life was forever changed one day in '94 when I sat down for a coffee with David Fincher. I don't know if any of what we do matters in the end. What I do know that matters is the people we hitch ourselves to and the indelible mark they leave upon our very being. I was reading a passage recently where a character was asking, which is more important, the journey or the destination? And the other replied, it's the company. And I couldn't agree more.
So now we stand at the end of the question and at the beginning of responsibility. Marriage is not simply changing, it is being tested by technology, by freedom, by desire, by fear. And history shows us something important. Institutions do not disappear when they fail. They disappear when they lose meaning. Marriage will not survive because it is traditional. It will survive only if it becomes truthful. The future of marriage will not look like the past, and it should not. For centuries, marriage was built on necessity, survival, economics, social order. Today, necessity is gone, so meaning must replace it. The marriages of the future cannot be built on obligation. They must be built on conscious choice. Not, I need you to survive, but I choose you to grow. This changes everything. Future marriage will demand emotional literacy, not passion alone, not attraction alone, but the ability to communicate discomfort, to regulate desire, to repair damage. Skills once ignored will become essential. Love will no longer be enough. Competence will matter. Commitment will no longer be blind. It will be intentional. Marriage will become smaller, but stronger. The future marriage will not compete with freedom. It will redefine it. True freedom is not endless choice. It is the ability to commit without fear, to stay without resentment, to build without losing oneself. Marriage of the future will not erase individuality. It will protect it. Two whole individuals, not two incomplete halves. Parenthood will change as well. Children will no longer be expected. They will be intentional. Fewer children, but more invested parents. Quality over quantity. This may slow population growth, but it may also raise emotionally healthier generations. Technology will not disappear from relationships. It will test them. Artificial intelligence, virtual intimacy, digital temptation. These forces will intensify. Marriage will survive only if it adapts without surrendering its core. Connection must stay human. Presence must stay real. No algorithm can replace shared struggle. No screen can replace trust. The future will divide people into two paths: those who avoid commitment to escape pain, and those who accept commitment to create meaning. Neither path is easy, but only one builds civilizations. Marriage will no longer be a default. It will be a decision, a difficult one, a brave one. And bravery has always shaped the future. But let us be honest. Marriage alone will not save society. Strong individuals create strong marriages, not the other way around. Education must teach emotional maturity. Culture must stop selling fantasy. Media must stop confusing pleasure with love. Marriage must stop being a performance and return to being a practice. Practiced patience, practiced loyalty, practiced repair. And now, the final truth. Marriage is not sacred because it lasts forever. It is sacred because it demands transformation. It forces humans to confront ego, fear, selfishness, and become something greater. The question we must leave with is not whether marriage will survive. The real question is, will humans choose comfort or growth? Because marriage was never meant to be easy. It was meant to be meaningful. And meaning has always required courage.